So we are going to be talking about symbols and why they are so useful in Adobe Illustrator when we are using them for fashion. But I want to hand over the screen for a moment to Robin, and she's going to tell us why she thinks symbols are so handy, and then I'm going to get into my demo. Take it away, Robin.
Click on the little club icon to open the symbol panel, and it's a lot like the swatches panel and brushes panel and all the other panels we've been playing with. Why use symbols, you may ask, because it's an extra step to make a symbol. It is, but it's not difficult, and let me show you why it's worth the time it takes. Here's a line sheet. Each of these shirts has dyed to match buttons. But I was just informed that we're no longer using dyed to match buttons. We're changing the buttons on all shirts to gold. Now, it took me a while to align and distribute all these buttons and get them properly spaced on the shirts. And I have a date tonight. I don't want to be at work late changing out buttons. But I was smart and I prepared my file using symbols. So I'm going to be able to do this in no time at all. Let me show you how. Since my shirts are already grouped together, I'm going to make my selections using the Group Selection tool, which is the white arrow with the little plus sign. This will allow me to select one object within a group without ungrouping the object or going into isolation mode. All I need to do is select one instance of the button. I'm going to go up here to Select and choose Same Symbol Instance. And you'll notice up here now I have the option to replace. So I'm going to replace this symbol with my gold buttons. And they've all changed to gold. I can do this with each shirt just by selecting, Select, Same, Symbol Instance, and switch to the gold button. Select, Same, Symbol Instance, and replace it with the gold button. And select, Same, Symbol Instance, and replace it with the gold button. And it's that fast. Now I can go. That is why symbols are so handy to have. And you can make symbol libraries with anything you might need. This is my colored button assortment here for shirts, but I have numerous other symbol libraries with things like zipper pulls, buttonholes, bar tacks, pockets, collars, cuffs, plackets, anything you can think of can be made into a symbol. And it really speeds up your workflow in a pinch.
Thank you, Robin. That was amazing. Okay, so I'm going to now get into my demo where we're going to have a symbol party. Okay. So as you got the gist of from Robin's video, the symbol is a very handy tool for us as designers. You are able to basically draw anything that you want. Here I've got a little button. I'm going to drag that into my symbols palette. And Illustrator is going to ask me what I want to do. And I want to say dynamic symbol, and that is fine. Then all I have to do is click and drag that into my document to create the instance of the buttons. There we go. So let's see how that looks on an actual demonstration. So I want to look at my pair shirt here, and I have my lovely pairs, and my concern is that the buttons are a little boring for what is otherwise such a fun shirt. So there are several ways to put buttons on a garment. The way I originally did this one was I had my original button up here. I copied it. Control C, Control F. So I have two of them. And then I moved the button down to where I wanted it to go. So that was at the bottom. This one was at the top, approximately there. Stop distorting my buttons, Illustrator. There we go. So one was at the top, one was at the bottom. And I wanted to make sure that they were beautifully aligned. So I used my align over there. And then I went in and did Object, Blend. So I'm using the Blend tool, and the default on Blend is smooth color. I wanted specified steps, and I wanted 8 specified steps. And so Illustrator drew the 8 in there, but I have to actually do it twice. I have to like tell it what I want to do, and then I go back to Blend. First I did Blend Options, then I go to Blend Make, and it puts in my 8 buttons beautifully spaced out. Basically, it redraws them, and there really are only 2 buttons in this document. This is fine if you are doing one-offs, but if you're doing massive production, then this is not the ideal way to go. This is perfect if this is like a single illustration, okay? So let's talk about using our symbols. Anything you draw can be dragged into the symbols palette. Oops, I'm going to distort that one. There we go. Hold Shift. There we go. Can be dragged into the symbols palette over here. And when you drag it back into the document, it is something that can be replaced the way Robin told us in her video. I'll move these guys out of the way. And that works like this. So Robin did the select from the pull down. I like to actually do it from over here on the symbols palette itself. Select all instances, okay? And that should give me my little select all instances. I have selected all of my symbol, and then if I head up to replace on the top line here, I want to replace it with something else though. So I'm actually going to drag my symbol library into my symbols palette. There we go. Pretty sure, yeah, had I dragged all of these into the document, they show up in the symbols palette. So make sure that if you open up a symbol library, you either click and drag it into the symbols palette, or you can just click and drag it into your document and it'll show up in symbols. And then when you head up to select all instances, there we go. When you get the pull down, you will have everything that is in your symbols palette handy. So I could change that out to whatever I want to do, which is really handy if you're having a document that has many of the same repeating element in it. Like if you're doing production on something that's going to be sent to a factory, you will be able to very quickly switch out the instances of all your buttons. And Robin mentioned that it is used by her for pockets, for zipper pulls, for zippers, heads, that sort of thing. It is very handy for that. And so let's talk a little bit more about our symbols here. So anything you draw, you can click and drag into the symbols palette and it becomes a new symbol. Okay. And if you want to recolor something, you can create a new symbol. Remember how I made that drawing? Let's try that again. I'm going to go in. This is a good point about recoloring. I have several stacked shapes in there, so I have to make sure I am selecting the correct shape. There we go. Sometimes when I'm recoloring, I like to use the white arrow to make sure I'm selecting the right thing in a grouped object like that, because I think I was accidentally selecting my outline as opposed to that shape there, which is the one that I want to recolor. And then I'm going to black arrow, hold shift, make it a little smaller, resize that as a new button, right? And then I would drag that back out and use that in the document accordingly. Okay, so let's get back to my shirt. Let's see, what button do I want to use? These are all lovely, but first of all, I'm going to set up my buttons and then I will start replacing because that will make things easier for everybody. Okay, so here I have my buttons. And as you can see, I had turned them into a blend. I want to release the blend because I want to go back to just my original buttons. Start with button number 1. I am going to make button number 1 into a symbol. There we go, into my symbol library. Okay, there it is. Then I'm going to pull it back out as a symbol. So I'm going to delete that one because it's no longer helpful. This is my symbol. And I'm going to move that into place. Instead of doing my blend, I'm actually going to do a copy. I'm going to make a whole bunch of them. And I'm holding the Option key on my keyboard to do this. And I'm going to need 10 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Then I'm going to throw in my ruler guides. I'm going to put a ruler guide at the top where I want the buttons to start. I'm going to do a ruler guide at the bottom where I want them to end. And I'm going to grab one of my buttons, put it at the bottom, move you out of the way. And then I will put the other one at the top. Now, there's a very cool tool in Illustrator that is called the Align tool. And that is useful for situations like this, where I want to space things out evenly right down the middle and in between. So I'm going to do Align Objects. And if you select a bunch of shapes, you have these tools automatically will pop up here. You also have an align palette. I tend to use the align palette just out of habit. Now, first I'm going to align these in the center. So they're all centered. And then I'm going to go down here to distribute. And this is going to distribute them relatively evenly. I think I accidentally selected my ruler guides as well, which I did not want. Let's try that again. There we go. Do a redistribute again. Line that button up. Round 2. This is why we need to lock our guides. Illustrator can be very literal. Okay, there we go. So distribute center and then align center and then distribute even. So that basically gives us our buttons that we have, but it gives us a symbol that can be replaced by another symbol. If we go to pull down and replace. Woohoo! Okay, so that makes me happy because I can now replace my buttons. Now, what I want to do is actually create a button that is made out of like kind of a coppery goldy button that looks like a pear for my shirt. Okay. Now to do that, we're going to be using a new tool, actually new palette, excuse me, that we have not used yet. What are you doing here? Goodbye. And that is called the gradient palette. And that is located under Window, Gradient. Gradient is very handy when you want to make things that what am I gradienting? Illustrator, black arrow. Okay, gradient. Huh. Why is it not working? All right. There we go. Okay, so make sure you're using your original artwork. That's interesting. I did not know that was an issue. I was trying to adjust a symbol, whereas Illustrator did not want me to do that once it had already been turned into a symbol. So make sure your item is either the original artwork or you can break the link to the symbol. Which is a pull down menu, break link to symbol, which I'm not going to do with that because I want to keep that as a symbol. Huh, there we go. Good for me to know. We're learning all together here. Okay, so I have my gradient on my little pear. So you can adjust how you want the gradient to flow. I'm actually okay with the left to right. And here you have a pretty interesting tool, which is the gradient slider. And that allows you to adjust how your gradient looks in the artwork. But I want to completely recolor mine. And so the way to do that is I'm going to find my swatches. I have so much open, I can't find anything. Windows swatches. There we go. Then I'm going to open up my Pantone uncoated, which will give me a lovely range of colors to work with. Okay. And then I'm going to go find my gradient and make some adjustments, as you will see. There is my gradient. And if I drag some kind of bronzy colored colors into my gradient, you will see what's going to happen. When I get rid of the black, I want this only to have kind of bronzy goldy colors so that it looks like I have a nice bronzy little pair for my button. Isn't that fun? Okay. Oops. There we go. I'm liking that. I want the little mouth to be solid. So what I'm actually going to do is, the way I like to recolor things, if they're grouped or in kind of large kind of groups of artworks, is I like to do the white arrow. And that allows me to select individual things. And then I'm going to turn off my gradient for the little mouth. And that's going to give me my pair button. I'm going to make it a little smaller by holding Shift. And then I'm going to drag it into my symbols palette over here like that. And you can see my little pair has shown up there. Now let's try and replace our original button. Select all instances. So I can see I got all those selected. And I'm going to put my little bronzy pair in. Oh, look at that. Stunning. Okay. Before I start moving it around and putting it on the shirt, I'm going to marquee and Command G, which should group it for me. Let's see. Okay, I want to lock that art. Lock. There we go, lock selection, because I do not want to keep accidentally grabbing that line. If there's something that's annoying in your way like that, you can always go to Object, Lock Selection. Okay, because I want to do a marquee on these folks without grabbing that line. Okay, and then right click. Nope, Object Group is going to have to do it. There we go. So they are a group. And then I'm going to pull them in place. On my shirt. And get rid of my originals. And now we have the happy pair shirt with bronze pair buttons. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, I'm going to clean up the artwork. So to save your custom symbols that you're going to do, they will be saved in that particular document, but you also can save them as symbol libraries the way we did pattern brush libraries. You just go down to Save Symbol Library. Okay, and then you give it a name. And then you can open up that library into new documents rather than having to move over all of those separate symbols into your document. So that is our happy pair button symbol. Oops. Demo.